ladies and gentlemen, it's 8:30.
We're going.
I call this Sawyer County Zoning Committee meeting to order. Roll call, Kathy, please.
Ron Buckholz,
Here.
Bruce Paulson,
Here.
Don Pettit, absent. Jesse Betcher,
Here.
Tweed Schuman,
Here.
Stacy Hessel. Here. Thank you.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rebecca Roker. Okay, there's an Amanda Schumauer, Don Stover, Jeff Dahl.
I don't know where they want to talk. Raise your hand, I guess. Okay. Statement of committee hearing and procedure. Hearing notice. The full statement of the committee at public hearing or hearing procedure document, including directions for individuals wishing to speak at a public hearing to be conducted at this zoning committee meeting, are available in front of this room next to the agenda for today's meeting. The statement of the committee and hearing procedure document is hereby incorporated into record for the committee meeting. Any public hearing conducted at today's committee meeting has been published in a Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 of the Wisconsin statutes in the Sawyer County Record and the Sawyer County Gazette as posted. Okay, approval of the November 12th meeting. Can I get an approval, please?
I'll make an approval to approve the minutes. I guess make a
I'll second
motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Paulson and a second by Mr. Betcher to approve November 12th committee meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, public comment. Please note, comment time is intended for general public comments, not comments relating to the specific application before this committee. Each agenda item requiring a public hearing will have its public hearing conducted just prior to the application and being considered by this committee. If you wish to speak on a specific agenda item, we encourage you to hold your comments until that specific public hearing. Okay. All right, is there any public comment out there that wants to talk anything other than what's on the agenda? Okay. Not. Does everybody, before we get going here on the rezone, does everybody have their appearance slip filled out that wants to talk with it? Did you get one or? Okay. Ma'am?
No, thank you, no.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, Pat.
Mr. Chairman, today we have one rezone application, a public hearing in the town of Meteor, rezone 21-011. Owner Kevin Fisher and Terry and Marilyn Fisher. Park Government Lot 4, Lot 1, CSM 17302, number 5349, Section 28, Town 37 North, Range 08 West, Parcel 0801837285401, 6.54 total acres, Zone Forestry 1, F1, and Residential Recreational 1, RR1. Park Government Lot 3, Lot 1, CSM 18292, number 5531, Section 28, Town 37 North, Range 08W. Parcel 018-837-285303, 1.28 total acres, Zone Forestry 1, F1. Purpose of the request is to rezone all Forestry 1, F1 to Residential Recreational 1, RR1, and adjust the property line between parcels for owner of parcel ending in 5303 to change location of driveway to minimize steepness down to cabin and lake. Again, the applicants Kevin Fisher and Terry and Marilyn Fisher. Property location is previously read into record. Again, the request is to rezone all of the Forestry 1 to Residential Recreational 1 and adjust property lines between owners for parcels ending in 5303. So the applicants are requesting to rezone both parcels totaling 7.82 acres to residential recreational 1. These properties are currently split zoned between the F1 and RR1 zone districts. With the current zone district of F1, the Sawyer County zoning ordinance would not allow parcel ending in 5401 to be reduced to less than 5 acres. The proposed request is showing a lot size of 4.213 acres, and thus why the rezone is being requested. Additional information, if you see the attached additional maps included in your packet, the other most common zone district in this area is the RR1 and F1. The town of Meteor, is part of their comprehensive plan, shows the same zone districts as the county maps included in the packet. The future land use maps split right in this area between future forestry and future residential. It would be more, more some in the future forestry where the town recommends 40 acres forestry parcels for light residential and forestry production. These existing lots are already considerable less than 40 acres, and the town comp plan is a recommendation only. The town approved this rezone with no additional comments. There were 4 opinion letters sent out, 0 were returned. That is all I have.
Okay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on rezone number 21-001.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Mr. Paulson to go into public hearing on rezone number 21-001. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are now in public hearing. Are the Fishers online? Right here. No? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is anybody out there would like to speak in favor of this rezone? Anybody out there would like to speak against this rezone? If not, need a motion to come out of public hearing.
So
Second. We have a motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Mr. Paulson to come out of public hearing on rezone number 21-011.
All right, discuss an action in the town of Meteor, rezone 21-011, owner Kevin Fisher, Terry Marilyn Fisher. Legal description is previously read into record, and purpose of request is previously read into record.
Okay, committee. Turn it over to you. Like I was saying, I wish these people would come forth and give us an update on what they're really looking for, other than what we're reading coming from zoning, but that's just my opinion. So up to you guys.
I'll make a motion to approve. Okay, requested rezone.
All right.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Paulson, second by Mr. Betcher to approve the rezone number 21-011. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, yeah. Mr. Pat, what will they do with the old driveway then if they're gonna reroute the one? Is that like a runoff problem or
So
anything
the,
like that? If it's so steep that they're saying it is?
the Deer Lake area, obviously you're dealing with steep slopes and a lot of different drainage issues through that area. I've been on this site, not in regards to this rezone, so I'm a little familiar how it lays out. They've done the best they can with either putting in slope interruption for that driveway, but I think it's gotten to the point where you just can't control the runoff coming down that hill. So my anticipated reaction would be that that driveway is going to be terminated And it may be doglegged in some regard.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any more discussion? Okay, Kathy, can we do roll call, please?
Yes. Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
Tweet Schuman,
Yes.
Stacy Hessel,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Bruce Paulson,
Yes.
all in favor.
Okay. It, finding of facts would not be damaging to the rights of others. And it's consistent with the zoning to the parcels on the, I'm going to say the plat. Okay.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we have one conditional use application today. Public hearing in the town of Hayward, conditional use 21-032, Charter Video Electronics Incorporated. Part of the northwest one quarter of the southeast one quarter, section 30, town 41 north, range 08 west, parcel number 010-841-304203, 10.63 total acres, zone forestry 1. Permit desired for communication structure 1,400 square feet, masonry building, section 17.8, parent B, parent 10, Sawyer County zoning ordinance. Again, the applicant is Charter Video Electronics Incorporated. Property location and legal is previously read into record. The purpose of the request is desired for communication structure that's 1,400 square feet in size. It's going to be a masonry building. And per the zoning ordinance, 17.8, parent B, parent 10, they need to apply for conditional use. Project history in 1992, a permit was taken out for this initial communication hub. At that time, it would appear that a conditional use permit should have been required for this type of building by the Sawyer County Zoning Office. But however, we have no information pertaining to the initial CUP. Since no CUP had been granted at that point prior, since no CUP had been granted at that point, a CUP approval process is now being requested to replace that existing building. In conversations with the agent, this building holds the emergency broadcast system relay for the entire district. The Charter Communication team has noticed a disruption with the technology within the old building, and equipment needs to be upgraded. Due to weather and timing restrictions, an emergency approval was granted for a land use permit from our office with the stipulation that they will also need to be granted an after-the-fact CUP. This request would then be for a communication hub relay station under section 17.8, parent B, parent 10. Prior to granting emergency land use permit approval, conversations were held with the town and adjacent property owners asking what concerns they may have. Main concerns were grading activities, vegetation cover, and noise that the building would produce once constructed. In conversations with the agent of this case, the grading or driveway would actually decrease in the steepness and no additional grading or vegetation removal would be required. Also, the noise from the generators and other equipment associated with the building would actually decrease from what is currently there. With this information, no other conditions have been identified as part of this request except for communication noise is at or less an existing level, and that all other applicable town, county, state, and federal laws would be followed. Town approved this application. See attached additional comments. Building under construction to replace old tin building roof on construction started in late fall. Project was discussed and 3 concerns arose. 2 will be for the CUP and 1 is needed temporarily. Concerns: any sound and or noise from the electronics on the site be less than previously generated from previous equipment and structures. All lighting on all structures be down lighting except the antennae. Because construction and clearing practices are being done during the fall and winter measures are needed to assure soil and ground vegetation are to be protected from erosion and sedimentation through the use of sediment traps and standard mitigation practices. Motion was made by Joan Cervenka to recommend town board recommended conditions 1 and 2 above in the CUP. And 1 issue number 3 is temporary CUP clause, second by Kerner. Very unanimously. 3 opinion letters were sent out, 1 returned, and 1 with no objection. I have no objection to this. No objection as long as there is no noise or greater, no noise or greater air pollution. Deb Kurzweil. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing in the town of Hayward, CUP number 21-02 or 32.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, second. We have a motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Mr. Betcher to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-02 or 32. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We are now in public hearing. Is anybody from Charter Video Electronics available? Is there anyone out there that would like to speak in favor of this CUP? Go ahead, state your name, ma'am, and your address, please.
Joan Cervenka, 9970 North Benson Road, Hayward, Wisconsin. And I'd like to carry forward that the town board of Hayward did approve. The notes that you read were from the town planning commission. And I apologize for the county not receiving the papers you got.
We received
Oh.
them and she sent that as an attachment.
Oh, okay.
So,
Thank you. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'll just
Okay,
now.
thank you,
No,
ma'am.
Joe,
Yeah, go ahead.
just a couple of
Oh,
questions.
sorry.
Is the construction complete?
Fairly close. The roof is on.
Okay, so the concerns about grading and all of these other concerns and the vegetation, they've been dealt with?
We don't know. We weren't on site during the ground. One of our board members drives past there every day. Being constructed in the spring, the plans and specifications from Charter when we reviewed them appear so. But nobody was on, we weren't on site. We're just, it's a very steep area. We
Right.
don't know if they were, I wish they were here.
Right.
When I talked to Kenneth Swanson from Charter, he said, call me and I'll answer any questions for our meetings.
Right.
And he assured me that there was going to be a project person who's actually on ground here at your meetings. Yeah, right.
Okay, well, it's just like Charter, you can never get a hold of them.
Mr. Schuman?
Yeah, Joan, I got a question for Joan. Joan, so they were well under construction before they applied for the CUP then, correct? Is that correct, Mr. Brown?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
They were well under construction and doing everything before they,
They were.
Right.
They contacted our office about obtaining the land use permit. At that time, it was discovered that there was no CUP on file for the original building, which should have been required in 1992.
Oh, I see.
Two. Thank you. At that time, Jay told them that they needed the CUP and explained the process as far as applying. And they said, well, we need to get going on this because it houses the emergency electronics. At that time, there were conversations held with the town, with Mr. Buckholz, and then neighbors, and that emergency approval was granted for the land use permit and the
Pending.
essentially a emergency CUP for an after the fact.
got
CUP, and
it.
that's
So
what we
we're
are.
kind of ratifying it right now.
Right.
Correct, yes.
Got it.
And I got compliments, the county for reaching out to the neighbors on this one too, because I talked to Jay in my former life with the Forest Service, for example, when the pipelines that are buried under the sand, when they came to me as an employee of the Forest Service, they said I need to do an emergency maintenance thing. I did not want to be the person that caused a leak in the major pipeline. And in this situation, talking to Jay, I said the county does not want to be in a position for an emergency communications structure to fail. And Jay and I had a great conversation, and Jay did great on reaching out to the neighbors and having conversations with people to try and jump ahead of some people's issues. And Deb Kurzweil who lives adjacent to it, talked about the noise from the old generators in the tin building and outside. And then talking to Ken Swanson, by bringing the generators with, and I'll say this wrong because I'm not an engineer, with lower decibels or lower engine noise, and those buildings and those machinery into a brick building as opposed to a tin building, which Mr. Swanson was afraid was going to blow away. He was very, the emergency action in Joan Cervenka's personal professional life opinion was very appropriate.
Good.
Got it.
And the only new concern that was that when the town brought in was downlighting. And that was not communicated to them previously, so.
Hey, Mr. Betcher, go ahead. Are you on the town board?
No, I am on the Town of Hayward Planning Commission, and we're the ones that do all the dig into the weeds
How many people are on that planning commission?
right now.
Yeah, right.
Currently, we have a planning commission of 7. Our total Town of Hayward ordinance allows to have 9. 2, well, once we hit 7, 2 can be from outside of the township of Hayward.
Okay. thank
I
you.
am the chairperson, and I've only been on the planning commission since 2012.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, anyone else out there would like to speak in favor of this CUP? If not, is there anyone out there that would like to speak in opposition of this CUP? Okay, if not, need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-032.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Mr. Paulson to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-32 or 032. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, we are now out of public hearing.
Discussion action in the town of Hayward, CUP 21-032, chart of video electronics. Legal description is previously read into record, and summary request is previously read into record.
Okay. Committee, turn it over to you.
I'll move to approve the application for the conditional use permit subject to downlighting. All lighting is downlighting, and that the noise be no greater than the noise in the existing facility.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Paulson, a second by Mr. Schuman to approve the CUP number 21-032 with stipulations attached. I guess that's how I want to say that. Any more discussion?
Yeah, so this is just a building that's 144 square feet or whatever. Do we know anything about the height? Like, is there a tower associated with this there as well? With this building, do we know?
I'm looking up I apologize. I'm
Oh,
looking
that's
up
fine.
the land use permit now that was
Right,
issued.
but isn't there the tower because,
There is an existing tower there.
right, they
No,
would
there
use
is
that
not.
tower.
Go ahead, Matt.
May I speak?
Yes.
In talking to Mr. Swanson, sorry, apologize. In talking to Kenneth Swanson, the antenna, the tower has been removed. At this point in time, there's no intentions to put another tower up, and there will be an antenna. And I apologize, I didn't write down the footage. It's not going to be a, big, and there will be a minimal amount of lights on the antenna. That's what he told me the other day.
Any more questions, Mr. Petcher?
I guess so there's already a building there. So we're doing this kind of after the fact,
After the fact.
make them compliant. Okay.
Because I know Jay did call me and we talked about this and he wanted to know my situation on it and I was okay with it. So he did talk to me and a bunch of others. So I was okay with it.
Well, wasn't the critical item that our emergency system runs on this facility?
That is correct. Yes.
Right,
And
so-
they noticed the disruption service. They need to do upgrades on
Right.
that. with those upgrades, more equipment, larger space was needed.
Right.
So that was,
And the height of the aerial, isn't that covered by state or federal regulations?
it would be.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, if not, roll call, Kathy, please.
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
Tweet Schuman.
Yes.
Stacy Hessel.
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Bruce Paulson,
Yes.
all in favor. Thank you.
Finding of facts that would not be damaging to the property values and rights of others, and is a critical infrastructure for our emergency management system.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
The second conditional use permit that was on the agenda was withdrawn on Wednesday by Mr. John Bross.
Okay. So what is the procedure for not hearing that? Also, you know?
Well, I think we recognize that, accept the withdrawal.
Right.
So we, okay, all right. So we will,
Mr. Chairman, do we have to do that by official action then, or?
Yeah, I believe we do.
so do we got to open it up?
No, I don't recall we ever have.
I don't remember, that's why I'm asking.
So I would say that, I would make a motion to accept the withdrawal of conditional use permit 033.
I second it.
Okay, all right.
No, there's a hand up.
Rebecca Roker.
Rebecca, go ahead.
Yep, no, you're correct. You don't have to, certainly don't have to go through the public hearing, and your motion to acknowledge the withdrawal is appropriate. And the reason you have to go through that exercise is to make sure that there's no issues with statutory timeframe. So thank you for doing that process.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Paulson and a second by Mr. Betcher to withdraw CUP number 21-033. You want to do a roll call or just a voice?
It's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's just do voice. I think it's going to be okay. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries to withdraw number CUP number 21-033. Okay. New business. Draft language for shipping containers and accessory structures on vacant property. This is for discussion only. So. Discuss this. I have one from Mr. Phil Neese. We'll let you start it out.
Thank you.
You bet.
Phil Neese, 8083 in County Road E.
You move around too much. You don't even.
Well, I'm homeless right now, so kind of homeless anyway. After the last month's meeting, I spent some time talking to the town of Sand Lake, of course, Bass Lake. I talked to a number of people, and talking about, town officials and so forth on planning committees and the chairman of most of these towns, Round Lake, Hayward, and so forth. And what I apologize for presenting this suggestions to you this morning, because in my movement process, my computer, I was only able to get 3 this morning. So anyway, after talking to them and looking at this, if you are deciding to go forward with allowing shipping containers, and Jay, I talked to him right before he left for surgery, and he hadn't had time to get the survey he was going to send out that you guys thought it could get the town's opinions up. So anyway, that's the last I knew. So in talking to them, most of the towns, and you can see in my little thing, rather than giving one free, this is a compilation. Not everybody had the same. These are the comments that I put together, and some of them were mine. That any shipping container, because every lot or every parcel and every situation is somewhat different. And so it would be a good idea, rather than giving everybody one free one. And then, well, you want the second one, now you're gonna have to talk about it. So the other thing which was brought up with all the towns, and of course, you're from, and I'm from the town aspect of it too, that it needs to be with town approvals. This board, I don't know the situation in Round Lake. You don't know what's in Bass Lake, and the town knows best what is there. And so some places would be fine and other places wouldn't. So anyway, they were pretty emphatic, everybody, that we'd have to have town approval to have the cup accepted. And we've done that elsewhere in the ordinance. The other thing that came up, which in Bass Lake, for example, the biggest subdivision in Sawyer County is Northwoods Beach. And the biggest landowner in Northwoods Beach is the tribe, because they've got quite a bit of property. And especially Northwoods Beach subdivision, you have to have 7 lots, 20, which makes 21,000 square feet, and 20,000 is minimum. Is that the situation could be, you could have a home. Now we're going to have a shipping container. Now we're going to have a home, and we have a shipping container or an accessory building across the street. And people that have property there have a reasonable expectation that this is the subdivision is for houses. It's not for putting stuff or making it your campground, and that's what these end up essentially. So anyway, I would encourage you to at least discuss the 3 things that was added, that I'm asking to be added, to be sent out to the towns. And I think you'd have a much better chance of getting 8 towns to approve this if you do those 3 items. So anyway,
Thanks.
you bet. There was some questions about the tax thing and on accessory structures last time. So I talked to our town assessor, Claude, and he does, and most assessors do, if they're aware of them, do on a accessory structure, do tax them, put them on the tax roll. His example for 12 by 16, which is an original one that our friend up here at Northwoods puts out, usually it's $3,500 on a shipping container. He used, this is just one assessor, is $1,500. Although when the property and accessory structure comes through on the bill, it does qualify for the first dollar credit on your tax bill. So up to almost $50 comes off. But in Northwoods Beach, if you paid $8,000 for a lot and you put a $1,200 in it, you got $20,000. The county can get $200, and of that, the town would get $20. We can't even start a truck for $20. So anyway, I just thought I'd pass that along from our conversation last time.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
Okay, committee.
Phil, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You wanted that with town approval added under conditional use permits, CUP with town approval, except for lot zone industrial.
Right.
Is that actually needed? I mean, does every CUP, when it comes to us, does it have town approval? Or could it come to us without town approval?
So each CUP goes to the town
Right.
for their recommendation.
Yep.
But not each CUP requires town and county approval. Some CUPs can go through with town denial, and this board can overturn that town's decision. Example is 4.26 with the accessory structure across the town road. If the town denies that CUP, this board has to deny it,
Right.
unless it's within the shoreline district. And then this board has the ability to overturn a town's denial of a CUP within the shoreline district
Right.
Okay.
of a CUP. Yeah, so
So this language is
Yes and
pertinent
no.
then, you think, right? I
Right.
mean,
what
right?
Mr. Neese is is requesting is that in our third reiteration of this, that the town approval would be necessary for the approval of a CUP of shipping container. That an applicant could not get a town denial of a shipping container with a CUP and get approved by this board.
Got it.
So what this does then is push the decision-making down to, I'm gonna say, the lowest level possible.
The town government.
Right, town government. because
I've
there's
lived
no-
with these,
Right.
whatever we got.
Right, and I
Right.
guess that's something I personally favor. I'm not a fan of the state taking over county rights to make decisions, nor am I in favor of us taking over decisions for the town. But I mean, we don't know, what the towns want. So that'd be I agree with that recommendation.
Yeah, I do too.
But I'm concerned about the accessory structure thing. So people buy a piece of property based on existing zoning, and our zoning say you can't have an accessory structure on vacant land. Is that true?
That's correct.
Okay, so I buy this piece of property and there's property over here and there's property over there and they're vacant. If we pass this ordinance the way it is, these owners of the vacant land can put an accessory structure up. Right,
With limited square footage.
right, but they still could.
They could. Yes.
Right.
This is an amendment to the current zoning ordinance.
Right, so I mean, what is that, what are we doing for the people who bought their property with looking at the current zoning and understanding full well that there won't be any accessory structures on either side of them, and now we're saying, nope, you can have an accessory structure. Aren't we kind of pulling the rug out from under the property owners who relied on the zoning ordinances?
I mean, I guess that is one angle to look at, but we have seen a lot of requests in our office, just daily conversations
Right.
with people
Right,
that, or we write the order for correction letter, that you can't have an accessory structure on vacant property. And there are these smaller yard barns, because people come up to either deer hunt their property and they always say, well, I need a place to keep my deer stands in the off season. I need a place to keep the lawnmower, chainsaw, just all the things that you would use on a weekend that you may not think or have room to bring up with you every weekend. And you also don't want them laying out in the weather. That they need some reasonable accommodation for that. Our reply to that would be you can take out a conditional use permit for an accessory structure on vacant property. Gives you a 3-year time limit to build a dwelling, et cetera, et cetera. Build a big enough structure to create habitable living space of 500 square feet that has a 20 by 25 dimension in it, or a enclosed trailer. Because an enclosed trailer is not considered an accessory structure, it's licensed, it can be moved at any time, something like that. Those are kind of the three braids that they can kind of navigate the river.
so the maximum square footage is basically 12 by 12.
Well, it could be any arrangement of 144.
Right. but I'm
It could
just-
be, yeah,
I'm just trying to put
yeah,
it
it
in
could be
my
10 by
mind the
14,
way I.
it could be,
You got something you want to say?
Oh, did you miss that?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So to Mr. Paulson's point though, but that landowner doesn't own the vacant land next to him.
Right.
Yet we want to try to tell them who owns it what they can or can't do with their land.
correct.
So that's a little bit of a gray area.
Yeah.
But I understand your point, Mr. Paulson, I do. And then what is this, is there a revenue component then? Maybe that would affect our budget if you were to start.
There
And
would
what
be
is that, what is a charge for a CUP and is it an annual fee or is it a one-time
Right
fee
now, it's $350
One time, right?
one time.
one time.
every year?
No, one time.
One time.
One time.
And I don't know, we don't make a lot of money on that. CUP.
Right.
No.
We make the money on the land use permit that would follow that grant unit CUP. I think we're pretty close to breaking even or losing money on a CUP application. By the time the committee, I'm sorry, by the time publications get done, by the time mailings get sent out, it all depends how many mailings Kathy has to generate, how thick the packet is. There's a lot of enumeration that goes into that.
But
Like I
Pat, the
said,
zoning committee could readdress that, right?
We could.
Make
We
make
could
some
increase the
recommendations
fee.
to the full board that you need to increase that application fee.
Yeah.
True.
for conditional use
Yeah.
permit.
Right,
If we're losing money or,
right.
Yep, that is very true. And where we made our money is issuance of the land use permit.
Right.
After the 3 years.
After the CUP is granted, or in this case, if somebody just straight came to us with a application for land use for a 10 by 14 accessory structure on vacant property for deer stands, for lawnmower, whatever, non-habitable. They would not be able to put a
Right.
cot in there. They wouldn't be able to have mattresses, anything
Well,
like that.
Stacy, did you want to say?
Well, I was
something?
just gonna say, I think we're making this because we've had issues, and this is continually addressing the issues, and then also, then you can do follow-up and fines, correct, if they don't follow
That
these.
is correct,
So that's why we're doing this, it's not to,
100%.
yeah. Just want to
Zilmer,
remind
go ahead.
everybody.
Oh,
Did you change your name, mister?
You said, do you recognize Linda?
yes.
I
There's
did.
no time left for me.
It was a race to the podium.
And my legs asleep. Mr. Neese offered some suggestions if the zoning committee is considering going forward with this, and I would hope you wouldn't. With the changes the legislature made to state statutes around conditional use permits, if you open up this can of worms, I don't think the county could, the way it's drafted now, could ever deny a conditional use permit. So if you want to go forward with allowing these by conditional use permit, then part of the ordinance should include the conditions that people have to meet if they want to be granted one. Because absent those conditions, you know, what grounds do you have to deny one? Or what happens when you see that each different town wants different conditions that may be deemed arbitrary? I just think it sets it up with challenges. So I would think that the county and towns would be ahead by not opening up just standalone accessory structures or containers on vacant lots.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Neese.
I think Pat had a comment.
Oh, go ahead, Pat.
We already have in ordinance to allow accessory structures by conditional use. This amendment to the zoning ordinance is to allow a single 144 square foot accessory structure on vacant property without conditional use. That's
Accepted by itself.
except in quite itself. Thank you, Mr. Neese.
Go ahead.
To Bruce's point, and I went through this, and I think there is a place for, I was adamantly against, and I still am, basically, I think it's a bad idea where we are opening up a can of worms, but I get the flavor that there is some folks out there is some towns that do not have a problem with this. Round Lake does, Hayward does, Bass Lake, but maybe Meteor doesn't, who knows? I didn't get that far when going through the people, talking to different ones. But to Bruce's point, I think by, rather than just allowing one, I think that really needs, if you're gonna go forward, it needs to come out of there, because then you have no control. I mean, just drop one, and then, oh, I'm good to go. And I don't think that's a good idea. And if you have the town approvals in there, that takes it back and puts it on the town to look at Northwoods Beach, Thoroughfare Road. We got 12 subdivisions in Bass Lake, and we've probably got more than any other town. And that way, the town can look at the situation where it's at. Maybe it's no problem. Maybe the lots are big enough in that subdivision, and in some of them they are. But on the other hand, I guess to answer Bruce's point, I would like I'd like you all to vote, those, so we can talk about this again, because this is the third, in 25 years, this will be the fourth kick at this can. 25 years or 30 years I've sat here, this will be, and it's on every time it's gone down, but now we're back, everything just repeats itself, so anyway.
Goodness, yeah.
No, Pat has a question.
I will say one other comment in regards to somebody that doesn't want to view an accessory structure on vacant property, or the neighbor that has a house next door. In some cases too, it would look better to have a $3,500 shed that they made a $3,500 investment in versus having a broken down lawnmower and deer stands, just a pile underneath the tarp, because now they have a blue tarp because that's their only way to weatherproof this site.
Can I answer that for you? I'll take you through Northwoods Beach, and we have not a lot of sheds that are currently there, and there's stuff piled up on the side of it, because when they get full, it goes outside. So it's not a.
Mike, you got a hand up? Go ahead.
Amanda Schemenauer.
Amanda, go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Amanda Schemenauer. I have a lot on 3971 West Meyer Road in Winter, Wisconsin. I just wanted to take the time and thank you guys for actually addressing this and looking into this. I'm one of those that has a vacant lot on the lake up there, and we currently are trying to invest our time in Sawyer County and want to recreate there and do everything that we can on our weekends there. But we're one of those people who are left that we want to make an investment into a structure, but we're left tarping everything right now. And it's an eyesore. It's unfortunate because I have a lawnmower. I have all of the things that I want to bring up there to make sure that my property looks nice and that it's cared for. But I'm unable to do that right now. So everybody I talk to, I've taken the time to get here and to express this, and really looking forward to a resolution for us for this accessory structure, because we would like to make it look nice, but on right now we have things piled all over, and it's a safety concern for me because we have cameras there and we see people going in and out, and so it's a concern for us.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr.
144 square feet. Could people sleep in a 12 by 12?
Could they?
Yeah.
I mean, I've slept in a lot less.
Yeah. I mean, do we have a problem now with people having sleeping quarters that are not authorized?
Yeah, I would say yes. It's, if people can do something, whether it's right or wrong,
They'll do it.
They'll do it. And that's where enforcement comes in.
Do we have, I mean, I keep hearing over and over again, we don't have enough staff for enforcement. I mean, unless it's really egregious or we get somebody calling 6 times with a complaint, we don't go out there. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating a bit here, but so, I mean, if we're going to allow accessory structures over 144 square feet, then we should add at least one more person to the staff to enforce our ordinances.
I would agree. If we don't go the route of adding staff for budgetary reasons, for enforcement reasons, or anything like that, I will say it's easier to issue someone a citation and inspect their property if we've issued them a land use permit and they're not complying with the conditions of that land use permit, than it is that it's just an illegal structure on vacant property. And then we're going, I think it's a smoother, easier process to issue a citation on a permitted structure not being used correctly versus a non-permitted structure not being used correctly. But I hope I explained that.
Can we, do we have legal authority to go on somebody's property if there's a story above a garage and look in the windows?
Well, that would make you creepy.
Well, if they have a exterior ladder well on that structure and they've taken out a permit for a 2-story garage and it is within prudent view, I do believe we have the authority to to look in those windows.
That's,
I guess I'd like Rebecca's,
that's not what I've been told. That's not, I've been told.
Good way to reach.
Stacy, you have something you want to say?
I just wanted to submit for version 3 that we could actually do an action item for next month. So this would be submitted with the changes, and we have a version 3 that we could actually take action on. Right now, it's just discussion only, but just to move it forward, if we can submit this for a version 3 with the changes of Phil, then we can stop exhausting this.
Yeah, I mean, it just keeps going over and over, and you know, on these containers, I get out a lot, even in my township. I mean, I'm out checking things. And these containers are popping up all over.
Mhm.
I mean, one day they're not there, the next day or two you go there and there they are. I mean, I'm sure they're not having permits, they're just sticking them in there on their own free will, hoping they're gonna get away with stuff, so. I mean, we've got to come up with some kind of solution for this. And if we can put that, Kathy, on the agenda for next month, what Ms. Hessel said, so we could get this going and get through it.
Right.
Okay, I have it written down,
Okay.
yes.
one thing to
Go ahead.
add to that, Ron, the correction or the amendment to the zoning ordinance for the accessory structure on vacant property is not to include a shipping container.
What?
The amendment to 4.26, parent 1, parent 2, parent 3, for the accessory structure on vacant property is not to include a shipping container.
Does it say that or is it?
Yes, it does. Yes.
It says it right at the bottom.
The
in
very
bold.
last line. I
Okay,
just wanted to, so,
I can't read the caps. I'm sorry.
so that would mitigate that issue.
There's really not any shipping containers that are under 144 square feet.
Right.
Those-
Correct.
Unless they
And-
make a 10-foot one.
Yeah.
but,
And they, yeah, and
So even a
then
20-footer, which is, I think, about the smallest they come.
I think so. And that, and part of Jay's research, that's why that
That would be
144 was
160
picked
square
to.
So it's almost redundant is what I'm saying. I don't know
It-
if you have to put that on there.
People are gonna cut them in half or start welding them together.
I think the
or
more
something. I
you
could,
add, the better. is
right,
what-
exactly. Sometimes redundancy is good. Just like it, but
Very smart.
Go ahead, Mr. Paulson.
So the process would be that we would come up with an ordinance that we're comfortable with. And they would send it out to the towns, correct? And if 8 towns don't approve it, what happens?
You start
It's
over.
done.
It's done.
It's done.
So whatever we craft, we have to craft to make, to make sure that we're gonna get approval by the towns.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that was one of Mr. Neese's points too, and looking at this, what he's got here. He thinks, and I kind of agree with him, that the towns would probably accept this better. So, and as being chair, and I want to do whatever we can do to get the town's approval on this, so we can be done with it and have something go on to the next
Goliath.
Yeah, right, so. Any more questions?
Yeah, I don't understand the recommendation where it says accept platted subdivisions. I guess, does that mean? I mean, we have the 20,000 square feet, which is approximately half an acre. Is that right?
That's minimum lot size, that's our 20,000.
But you're saying if I have a 1 acre lot in a subdivision, then I shouldn't be allowed to have?
No.
Then what, I don't understand. Can
Yeah,
you clarify what you say, except in platted subdivisions?
You need this. Did you get this? Do you need it?
It's only having to,
yes, yes.
he is granting, I don't think he's granting one accessory structure allowed on vacant property with a minimum. So except what I was saying there is except in platted subdivisions.
What do you mean?
Well,
It
if
doesn't
it's a
apply.
half-acre lot, I mean, if the subdivision is $500,000 houses, I don't think they're gonna want buildings next to them.
I don't understand why, I don't understand what you're saying, except in subdivision plots. You're saying that
In platted subdivisions.
I can have I can have an accessory structure, except if I live in a subdivision? You don't want them allowed in subdivisions? I don't understand what you're saying.
What this is saying is what Jay crafted was an exemption is granted for one accessory structure to be allowed on vacant property. But we're adding and talking to everybody that has subdivisions, saying, okay, we'll let you have one accessory structure on your 2-acre land or wherever you got out in the middle of nowhere, except not in platted subdivision.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask again, are you saying that you do not want to allow accessory structures in platted subdivisions? Is that what you're saying?
No, we're not gonna allow one accessory structure. He's granting an exemption. He's allowing you, if you read this, he's allowing you for the first one to be put on vacant property. Not, we gotta take off shipping containers. This is just whatever. This is saying that you're allowed you're granted one accessory structure on vacant property containing 20,000 square feet of land, except in planted. You're not allowed that. You're gonna have to get a cup
Right.
to do it
CUP.
through the town. You didn't say you can't never do it. You said you gotta go back to what's up above and get a cup with town approval, which gives the subdivision people a chance to say, you know, this is not what it is we were buying, whatever.
So I disagree with that. And going back to what Mr. Schuman said, if I own property, that's my property. I think if the rules of, say I can have an accessory structure on my vacant land, even if it might upset my neighbors because they don't want to see it, that's my property. I feel like I shouldn't be restricted by my neighbors saying they don't want me to put a shed on my property. And going back to, like Mr. Neese said, there's a shed and then people are piling stuff on the outside of it. Well, what would happen if that shed wasn't there? Then it would be just a bigger pile of stuff. So I understand what he's saying, but I mean, sheds are gonna make things more aesthetically pleasing, not the opposite. That blue tarp in the woods covering up gas cans and lawnmowers is more of an eyesore, I think, in my opinion.
So, Mr. Betcher, I think getting confused on here too, Phil, is except in plotted subdivisions. I think that's where.
Platted.
Yeah.
Platted subdivisions.
So they're saying that the exemption is granted for one, so, but
You're not
then,
granting one exception in platted subdivisions. That's all that's saying. What you're saying is you're gonna have to go back up to the top and get a conditional use permit with town approval. That's what it's saying. In a platted subdivision.
Okay.
If you're not in a platted subdivision, you'll get the exemption to have one accessory structure.
Summer?
I mean, my old property was 25 acres and I wouldn't have to get it.
Linda Zilmer, 902 Howard Hill Lane, Birchwood, Edgewater property owner. I forgot to mention that before. I think that this healthy discussion illustrates why the zoning committee probably should reconsider writing exceptions into a zoning ordinance. Whatever you decide about accessory structures should probably pertain to whether you're in a subdivision or not. And so, again, because I don't have a copy in front of me what Mr. Neese submitted, I would ask you to consider not making anything an exception, that whenever a building, an accessory building is put in, it requires some kind of a process, and I still think it defaults to the conditional use. Thank you.
Any more discussion on this?
One thing on the town approval. So we have one example of where we are forced to or required to deny it if the towns deny it. That one example you gave across the town road or structure. Are there any other examples of conditional use permits where if the town denies it, then the county is basically required to also deny it? Or is that the only one you could think of?
I I do believe reduced road setbacks.
Okay, so there's very
There's
few.
very few.
So what I'm getting at is all of the CUPs go through the town, and in the almost 2 years I've been here, I can't remember a case where the county zoning committee voted in opposition to what the town voted. So again, I don't know if it's necessary. I see where it makes the towns feel good that they have this approval authority, but I don't think it's necessary. I think we're really limiting ourselves because we always take into consideration how the towns vote on these CUPs. And I can't think of a case where the town voted against it to disapprove it, and then we as a committee came back. There might be one with the.
There was one.
There might be one.
There was one.
But it's extremely rare. So I personally, I don't think we have to add that in there and limit ourselves and hamstring ourselves by, that's my opinion.
And this is specific to the CUP, correct? Not the accessory structure portion. Because we're talking about both. I just want to make sure when I revise this, that I have it correctly. So,
Well, where it said it's here, shipping container.
Section
community lot
93, correct.
requires a conditional use permit, and then it was
okay,
with the addition with town approval, except for zones lot industrial. I don't think we have to add that with town approval, because they're, either way, they're going to vote on it. And
correct.
if they vote unanimous to approve, chances are we're gonna approve. If they vote unanimous to disapprove, there's a very good chance we're gonna disapprove. I just don't know if we have to put that, to codify that and say that if they disapprove it, then we are bound to also disapprove it, because there might be some unique circumstance where we might look at it differently and hear and get more opinion letters and stuff like that.
Yes, Bill.
To answer Jesse a little bit, of course, this is recent history, but in 25 years, this committee over the years has done a lot of not paying attention to what the towns wanted, a lot of it. And that's changed a lot over the years, and the current committee, I presume, in the last few years has been very receptive to what the town wants. But you'll see a number of instances, you don't have to go back that far, where the towns, and that's the reason the towns, we have to get 8 towns to approve this. And most of the towns have felt that the county pushes them around in general, and doesn't listen to them, and whether it's true or not, I'm just putting it out there. So I guess I would work very hard if the town did not have approval, make sure that whatever went out it was not going to be approved. So,
Okay, conversely then, what if the town approves it
then you
unanimously, and then us as the county
can
zoning
deny it.
committee says, no, we're gonna deny that.
You can deny it.
So you're okay with that, but
Yeah.
you're not okay with us approving it in the town.
Go ahead. Stacy, go ahead. Let Stacy go first.
Well, I was just gonna say, so out of these 3 suggestions from Phil, are you suggesting that we just keep the word any? Mr. Betcher?
I don't, because as it's written, property owner is allowed to put 1 shipping container without a CUP, as you have it
Correct.
written.
Correct, and that would be for a developed parcel. And me at my
Right,
house,
at your house.
at my house, I have a dwelling, I have 2 accessory structures, I get a screaming deal on a shipping container, I can put it there without a CUP,
You have to get what kind of permit? You have to get.
land use permit.
Right. Which, full disclosure, I have a shipping container on my property that I have a land use permit for. I have 1. So if we made this change, then I would have to go back and get a conditional use permit.
You wouldn't have to go back.
But, okay, so if I was gonna get, if I never had one.
If
but
you
I'm
never
gonna
had
get
one.
Then I would have to get a land use permit and a conditional use permit?
Reverse. First, the conditional use. You need the conditional use approval to obtain the land use permit. But yes, correct. If you did it, we'll just say this goes through
Then
20.
I would vote to keep it the way it's written. if we're more than one,
The way we have,
the way you have it.
okay, without Mr. Nice's comments.
Go ahead, Linda.
Wanted to ask a clarifying question. So towns get an opinion letter and get to weigh in on rezones, conditional use permits, and special exceptions. So if you write an exception or just automatically allow something, then there is no process for the towns to weigh in. So I think that's maybe where I'm getting confused, is because there has to be some kind of a process spelled out in the ordinance that identifies that the towns have to be notified and are allowed to submit a permit. And I'm thinking maybe the language in there doesn't allow for that.
In what scenario? In the shipping, are we talking in shipping containers or accessory structures on vacant property?
I think maybe both. Well, for accessory structures on vacant property because that's where I was confused when I first got up here. I thought it was still under a conditional use permit, but now you're saying it's not.
The amendment to the ordinance is going to allow for a single up to 144 square foot accessory structure on vacant property, not to include a shipping container. Basically, a either pre-built or a stick-built shed.
Yeah.
Garden
And is
shed.
Mr. Neese's proposed amendment suggesting that still has to have town approval?
No,
No.
it was except in a platted subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I guess, Ms. Hessel mentioned that we'd like several options to vote on at our next meeting. I mean, I don't think we're deciding on one to present.
Right.
Is that what you meant? I mean, we should have this one and others to vote on. Different options at our next meeting is what I'm saying.
My suggestion was to just have a version 3 with these changes to vote on. I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're at version 2, so.
I just want to make sure that that's
And
still
we wanna
allowable.
make Version 3, our only and last one.
Okay.
Right?
That would be my suggestion.
Right.
I agree.
But then
Right.
Mr. Betcher, you know, in his support as well, he's got changes too that he'd like to put in.
Right.
But I think as a board, we need to vote on it and then we'll move forward.
Well,
And he has the right.
Yeah, oh, yes.
So.
Right.
Yep.
If he wants to input on that, more than do it, Mr. Betcher, you know, I understand, so.
Well, and again, the point of this is so that they can do their job and do it well.
Right.
And
Yes.
that's what zoning, that's what Jay requested us, so that he can actually enforce the fines that go along with not following these. So that's what we're here to help zoning, not to make their life harder.
Right. Okay, so zoning is a subject matter expert, so I think we should look to them for their recommendations. Also considering we have to get it past the towns. All right.
Okay, any more? All right. Any other business that come before the committee?
Oh, sorry, I do want to clarify.
Okay.
So version 3 is going to be version 2. Correct? Or when in January's agenda, version 3 is going to look just like version 2? Or is version 3 going to look?
I think I would ask everybody's opinion around it.
Yeah, that I just, so I know how to write it up and.
I like the way you have it written personally. I don't know. if we
Without
need
Mr.
Mr. Nice's,
Without-
additions with
Right.
exceptions and adding the town approval or not.
We could do 2 versions and then the board.
So I
votes.
thought that's what Ms. Hess was saying, because as it stands now, the way I understand it, we only have one version. We send it to the towns. In the majority
Okay.
disapproves it, then it's kind of, we're stuck, we're dead in the water. And I'm asking here, but if we have 2 versions, version 2 and version 3, we're like, which one of these do you want? Which one are you more suited with? Then we know at least one of them will get approved. Am I right in saying that? Because then we'll have one to go forward with, otherwise it can be all or nothing.
Yep, that, it makes complete sense to me.
Yes.
So you have the version 2 and then you have the version 3 with Phil's suggestions. Is that what you're saying?
Something like
Yeah.
And then we're gonna vote on one of them versions at the next meeting, right? Mr.
Or
Penn?
maybe both of them.
Or both of them.
And
Or
I-
both
again,
going
I'm
to the
I'm
town.
asking, I don't know if we can
Yeah.
send two versions to the towns or if that would be,
No, I
can we do
don't.
that?
It would have to come from a recommendation from this board for a amendment to the zoning ordinance, either on version, whichever this board
Right.
decides to send it
Gotcha.
to the towns for a zoning amendment, zoning ordinance amendment.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, wasn't, if I remember right, Jay was gonna do an informal poll of the towns
Yes.
to determine what their appetite is.
I don't know if he got that done or not.
I thought, when I talked to him, as I said before, he was, your instructions last month was, of course, with everything that went on, it didn't happen. But he was gonna send out a kind of an opinion letter on what is the feelings of the towns, not an ordinance, because, or necessarily some form to vote on, but what do you, on these different items, what do you think? And I thought that he said when he got back, he was gonna try to do that, and get it sent out to the town. But it's very, the timing, one of the problems with doing any of that is that it almost kicks a whole nother month. Because all the towns have different dates, they have different, whatever, and this is always the third Friday, I believe. And today is the third Friday. But anyway, so I would really, rather than listen to me and whatever, I think that idea last month was a good one, was Jay formulate, or the zoning committee formulate, send out, this is what we're considering this. What is your opinions, and do you have any ideas? Maybe there's some better ideas, sir. I don't know.
So without that, we're just doing the best that we can. Without his opinion letters, we have to figure it out.
And we can do it.
So the plan is then next month, we're gonna have a couple versions and then us as board, we're gonna vote. So we know which one to send forward. Is that-
Vote on the one that we're going to take. Okay,
And we'll have full zoning staff input,
Yes.
like Mr. Paulson said.
any other business that comes before the committee?
I do have one small bit of new business.
Okay.
Last week, I received a call from a Mr. Sean Malarby. Mispronounce that. He owns property off Highway 70 in the town of Winter, 40-acre parcel zoned agricultural 1. Wants to know what he needs to do for a U-Haul truck and trailer rental business. Under the conditional use authorizations in 17.4, parents B, parent 16, new and used car sales establishments is the closest thing that I can relate a U-Haul rental to. Furthermore, in parent 25, like or similar uses in the opinion of Sawyer County Zoning Committee, subject to the procedures for obtaining a conditional use permit. I wanted to bring this to the board. Is a U-Haul, can we proceed with a conditional use application for Ms. Malarby in the agriculture 1 zone district under parent 16 of a new and used car sales establishment being like or similar to a U-Haul?
I would think
Dealership.
like the sewer, because that would be the same as that case out here on that, where that motel is that we
Right.
went through.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, we have discretion. I mean,
What does Rebecca have to say on this? Anything that she? have any input?
I did not reach out to Rebecca
Well, we
previously.
can get
This
her.
is
She's on. Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm here.
Pat's got a question for you.
Yeah, I heard it. I think that in these types of scenarios, you look at, obviously the specific language of your ordinance. And if it is broad enough to reasonably cover this other proposed use, then I think it's appropriate for the committee or staff to interpret the ordinance in such a way that the breadth covers that anticipated use. So what I would recommend, and Pat did give some specifics of the proposal, but really do a little deeper dive into what the proposal is going to entail. Not just the actual use itself, but what are some of the side or the secondary impacts of the use? What is, how many vehicles, how many are going to be stored? Is it 24/7? Is it only certain days of the week? Things of that nature, because all of those specific facts will give you insight as to whether the proposed use really meets the intent of the ordinance.
Thank you, Rebecca. As right now with this initial conversation, he made it seem like it was just going to be 2 trucks, 3 trailers. However, if the need increases, that may increase as well. So I think that's where, like Rebecca had stated, in the conditional use process, this committee would similarly, like a gravel pit, you put hours of operation on a gravel pit.
Limit the amount of vehicles.
Number of vehicles, hours of operation. And when I circle back with Mr. Malarvey on this, I'll tell him with his conditional use application, he needs to submit some type of business plan, correct? Yep, vehicles, a plan of operation. So
He should have one already.
Make sure he has down lighting.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's just me being a smarty pants because every conditional use has to have down lighting.
Yeah.
The antenna.
Just one other thing I wanted to bring up in February, planned for a long meeting. We have many cases I'm working on already. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Rezones, conditional uses, campgrounds,
Okay.
but just to forewarn you.
So let's get this done in January, the ordinance thing,
this-
yeah.
can we,
Yes.
that can get on the agenda. by
You'd have to do it
January
right
1.
away because I gotta get it.
Yeah, but this conditional use, he would have to have it wouldn't be in January. I said January. I should have said
That
February.
And I'm like,
So,
maybe we can
okay.
push them
All
over
right.
to
I tried to
March.
push him to March. I'll
Yes,
try to.
please.
Okay. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
For the public's business.
Any more? Good. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Amen.
Thanks, Rebecca. Have a safe trip home and I hope you feel better.
Thank you all. Take care.
Well, John.
You take care, everybody.
Kathy, good work.